traders, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys have all been having an amazing day today, and as usual, let's jump right into today's recap. So as you guys can see from the screen, right, my account was in the green overall, but in terms of how I actually did day trading, I was up about $94 on SQQQ and another $6 on TQQQ. So I was able to hit my 1% daily goal for the day, right? As you guys can see, these were my filled orders. I started trading right around market open, right? And I didn't stop trading until 7:10 today. So I really only traded for 40 minutes. It was definitely more of an effective day. And so let me go ahead and explain you guys my thought process and how I was actually able to walk away with a profit. So what I saw going on right with the Nasdaq pre-market was it was obviously indicating signs of a sell-off, right? Trading between the middle and the bottom VWAP and forming these lower highs and lower lows, right? And what I mean by that is as it would form a new low, right, the next time it pushed up, it would not go as high as it did the time before, right? So that's what I mean. It would form a lower high, and then once it would sell off, it would form an even lower low, right? So it would go even lower than it did, when it previously tried to form a support. So this thing was continuously forming these lower highs, lower lows, right? Consistently selling off. And so right at market open, we actually saw the Nasdaq continue to sell off, right? So I got into SQQQ and with a 25% position size, and as this thing continued to sell off, I started to size up, right? And then I decided to lock in majority of the trade right around the bottom VWAP, right? And so the reason why I decided to lock it in there was all pre-market, right? Anytime it approached the bottom VWAP, it would tend to bounce. So, I didn't want it to be risky, and I just wanted to play it safe there. So locked in majority of my shares. As it did start to go south, I just cut all of it. And what did I do? Well, once I saw this thing start to peak out, right, I actually started to get into TQQQ because of the fact that yesterday, if you guys recall, the market sold off a bit, but then started to change direction and continue to uptrend all throughout the remainder of the day, right? Or at least market open before it continued to trade sideways, right? And so what I noticed was that this thing had a nice support, and so I was just doing my part and trying to go with direction, right? I get into TQQQ, but only with a small position size, about 25%, because I knew direction could still continue to sell off on the day, right? We were still indicating signs of a sell-off, and this, although this green candle was really strong, right? Just a few green candles doesn't mean that we're going to change direction completely for the day. So I was cautious of that. As it finally did peak out and started to trade below the EMA, I cut my trade there, and I decided to re-enter SQQQ. The main reason for that was I noticed that, looking back at it during the pre-market session, every single time the Nasdaq broke above the EMA, it really struggled to hold, right? So as you guys can see, as it would break above the EMA, it would really struggle to hold and then continue to sell off. It would break above, right? Struggle to hold and then continue to sell off. Break above, right? Struggle to hold and continue to sell off. So I knew that since that pattern was still there, right? And this thing did find a strong support. Once it broke above the EMA, there was still a chance it could continue to sell off. And so I was definitely very aware of that. And so I was very happy with myself that I was able to, get out of TQQQ and then switch back to SQs. And so, as you guys can see, this thing continued to sell off, and I was able to, size back up when it really started to sell off, cut majority of the trade where it made sense, right, around previous support, and just let remainder of it fly or ride until I decided to actually cut it, right? And so that's how I was able to make that $94 on SQQQ. As far as my TQQQ trade, well, as you guys, as I did mention, I had to cut my loss here, right? And I was down about $20 to $30. And so what actually ended up happening was once I saw this thing form a support and start climbing again, right, I decided to get into TQQQ to try to at least get it a push to the EMA, right? I knew if it can push to the EMA the way it did last time it found a support, then I could recover my losses on it. And that's exactly what ended up happening, right? Ended up pushing up on back. I recovered my losses and made about $7 on top of that, right? So I walked away with my 1% goal there, and once I did end up hitting it, I decided to walk away for the day, given the fact that the stock market is not somewhere you want to overstay your welcome, right? Especially if you already hit your goal. There's no point in necessarily continuing to trade unless you do see, direction to still be there. But you know, this was just getting choppy for me, and the fact that I was able to hit my daily goal pretty early on in the day is why I decided to walk away. But as you guys can see, there was clearly lots of more, you know, potential moves to get into, right? So TQQQ really started a surge right at about, you know, 8 o'clock. So as you guys can see, once this thing was finished consolidating, it broke above the EMA, and rather than use it as a resistance as it was doing all pre-market, right, and beginning of the market session, we actually saw it start to form these higher highs, right, and use it as a support, right? So this thing would push up, consolidate, and no longer get rejected, right, and break below the EMA. This thing was starting to use it as a support. Definitely healthy signs that this thing could change direction. Doesn't mean it has to, right? But as this thing started to push up, consolidate, push up, right, consolidate, push up, right, and then as this thing broke below the EMA and really struggled to continue selling off, right? So the exact opposite of what we were witnessing pre-market, right, where it would break above and sell off. Now we're seeing this thing sell off and then break above. And so, right, direction completely changed on the day. Definitely lots of room to make money on TQQQ. So very happy, and for those of you who were able to profit on it. But as far as anything else I did want to mention, right, there were lots of earnings coming out this week, as you guys have seen them in the past few videos. But today, Tesla did report earnings, and as you guys can see, it actually went pretty well for it, right? So at market close, it was trading around $144. We are currently at $152.35. So up a decent amount, right? Definitely not complaining. Up about 5% in the aftermarket hours, because, you know, what they reported regarding their earnings per share, right, and their actual revenue that they generated was really good news. So awesome news, you know, to see with Tesla and Elon overall. As you guys know, I am a big fan of him. But, you know, we are pretty overextended overall as far as the market goes. So as you guys can see, the NASDAQ, right, once it pulls up here, any single time that we have traded around these general areas, we have experienced some form of price correction, right, and pullback. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, right? We have been very bullish, and I'm not one to predict where this thing is going to finally sell off, right? And my job is to continue to go with direction until it indicates signs that direction is no longer there, right? As of now, it's still bouncing on the EMA, right? Right, and continuously forming these higher highs and higher lows. So it's not like it's for sure that this thing will pull on back, but if it did, it would definitely make sense, right? If this thing, you know, tries to test this resistance and is able to break above it, then we could see a potential push. But at the same time, right, we are very overextended, as I mentioned, and a pullback would not be out of the question, right? I'm not saying, as I mentioned, that's exactly what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen, but that's why we as day traders got to follow up with it day by day. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. As you guys know, there will be more earnings reported at market or after market hours, right, tomorrow and Friday. And as if you guys are interested in what is actually reporting tomorrow, we see Visa, MasterCard, and a few other companies, right? You guys can take a look at this. And then on Friday as well, right, we can see Chevron and a few other companies, right, that you guys can take a look at. For that's there for your reference, right? But how I actually got here, if you just Google earnings report for the week, this will be the first link that pops up on the NASDAQ website. But thank you guys so much for your time today. I will be posting a recap tomorrow, so I hope to see you guys then. If you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and drop a comment. If you want me to break down a stock or stock indicator, I am more than happy to do that. All you need to do is ask down below. But that's pretty much everything. As I mentioned, I hope you guys all take care. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.